Is the Rashod Bateman era in Baltimore finally coming to an end? A legendary Jets insider says New York is calling. This report stems from Cimini, an ESPN New York Jets insider who possesses significant credibility, having covered the Jets for over 30 years and serving as a reporter for ESPN for the last 15 years. The New York Jets currently face a roster situation where they must address several needs through the NFL draft or via trades, specifically targeting positions like edge rusher, cornerback, linebacker, and safety. However, Cimini notes that the most pressing vacancy remains at wide receiver. With free agency and trades, Mougey has addressed almost every positional need with one notable exception: wide receiver. Rest assured, he has a plan, Cimini stated regarding Jets GM Joe Douglas. The Jets are positioned as an aggressive trading partner, as their general manager has executed 12-player trades in a little over a year. The New York Jets currently hold a short list of veteran wide receivers they are monitoring, which includes Brian Thomas Jr., Rashod Bateman, Quentin Johnston, and Dontavian Wicks. Among these names, Rashod Bateman has emerged as a focal point for a potential deal. The Jets are uniquely equipped to facilitate such a trade because they currently possess the number 1 draft value in the NFL, totaling 1,381 points based on standard draft value charts. Their asset pool for the 2026 draft cycle is extensive, featuring 2 first-rounders at 2nd overall and 16th overall, as well as 2 second-round picks at 33rd and 44th overall. With 6 picks in the top 150, New York has the flexibility to move mid-round capital for a veteran player like Bateman without compromising their ability to select elite talent in the early rounds. The specific capital the Jets hold makes them the perfect trade partner for a team looking to recoup value. With 4 of the top 44 picks in the draft, the Jets are in a position where they can afford to spend a mid-round pick on a reclamation project veteran while still drafting a high-end rookie. For the Jets, this isn't just about adding a body. It is about providing a veteran complement to Garrett Wilson to help support their quarterback, Geno Smith. For Baltimore, the allure of a 4th-round pick at 140th overall is significant, especially considering they currently have a roster that needs to be replenished with cheap, young talent to offset high-end contracts. From the Baltimore Ravens' perspective, the wide receiver room presents a complex dilemma. While the center position is the number 1 priority for the front office, the wide receiver position is ranked right behind it in terms of urgency. Currently, the room is led by Zay Flowers, who is the undisputed WR1 after recording back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. In contrast, Rashod Bateman took a massive step back last season, finishing the year with only 225 receiving yards on 19 receptions. Devontae Walker is heading into year 3, and while he has shown flashes of potential, he remains largely unproven in a consistent starting role. The remaining depth consists of Dayton Wade, LaJohntay Wester, and Cornelius Johnson, a group that lacks the established production necessary for a deep postseason run. Furthermore, the Baltimore Ravens signed Bateman to a $12 million deal, specifically a 3-year, $36.75 million packed with $20 million in guarantees, raising questions about whether his current output justifies that financial commitment. This is not a new development, as Rashod Bateman has been a recurring name in trade circles. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reported prior to free agency that Bateman, along with Quentin Johnston and Dontavian Wicks, were names surfacing in league-wide discussions. Even earlier, in May of 2025, Jordan Schultz reported that the Dallas Cowboys looked into a trade for Bateman during their pursuit of a veteran receiver. These data points suggest that the Ravens have been in talks about trading him pretty consistently for the last 10 months or so. The recurring nature of these rumors suggests that the front office may be looking for a way to move on from a player who has struggled to maintain health and consistency. In 2022, he was limited to just 6 games and 285 yards, and while 2024 saw a career-high 756 yards and 9 touchdowns, his production plummeted back to 225 yards and 2 touchdowns in 2025. When evaluating what Bateman is worth in a trade, Romeo Doubs serves as a relevant benchmark. Green Bay is projected to receive a 4th-round compensatory pick for Doubs after he signed a deal worth $17 million a year. However, Rashod Bateman has not had the production that Romeo Doubs has had. While Bateman recorded 756 yards in 2024, his subsequent totals indicate a downward trend. Because Bateman is unlikely to command a $17 million per year contract in open free agency, the Ravens cannot rely on receiving a high compensatory pick if he simply walks away. Therefore, if the Jets offer the 140th overall pick, which is a fourth-round selection, the recommendation is to do it and don't think twice. There are critics who defend Bateman by pointing to practice footage from last year, but for a player who has been in the league for 4 seasons, practice highlights do not outweigh the lack of on-field statistical production. At this stage of his career, the Ravens must decide if they prefer a fourth-round pick over a receiver who provided only 225 yards in his most recent campaign. Would you trade Bateman for a fourth-round pick? Give me a yes or no down below in the comments section. The logic here is concrete. If a player's production doesn't match his $12.25 million AAV, and you can get a pick that ranks in the top 150 of a deep draft, the trade becomes a matter of asset management. As the Ravens consider these moves, they are supported by partners like Prize Picks. For those looking to engage with the tournament action or the upcoming playoff push, using code CLNS provides a $50 bonus on initial $5 daily fantasy lineups. Prize Picks allows users to select game winners, spreads, and totals across various markets, including the International Baseball Tournament and the NBA playoffs. Whether it is calling your shot on who cuts down the nets or betting on player totals, Prize Picks offers a way to cash in on being right about the high-flying hoops action. If a trade involving Rashod Bateman is finalized, it would solidify the Ravens' need to target a wide receiver early in the 2026 NFL Draft. A primary round 1 candidate is Jordyn Tyson from Arizona State. Tyson is regarded as an elite playmaker and a Big 3 talent in this class, known for his great contested catchability and being a big target on the outside for Lamar Jackson. However, the big knock on him is the availability with the hamstring injury and a significant knee injury sustained back in 2023. Despite the medical concerns, his playmaking ceiling is among the highest in the draft, and he is a player where every time he touches the ball, something special happens. For round 2, a high-priority target is Chris Brazzell II from Tennessee. Brazzell stands 6 feet 3 inches and clocked a blazing speed of 4.37 in the 40-yard dash. He is a production machine, coming off a season with 62 catches, 1,000 yards, and 9 touchdowns in an offense that featured 2 other receivers with over 800 yards. While some scouts may cite a Tennessee stigma due to previous receivers like Jalen Hyatt struggling to transition, the Tennessee offense has evolved. It is now a more pro-style system featuring condensed formations, under-center snaps, and expanded route trees, meaning Chris Brazzell is ready for the NFL. Beyond the early rounds, there are deep sleeper options for the Ravens to consider. Ted Hurst from Georgia State is an intriguing prospect who recorded 1,000 yards on 71 catches last year, following a 961-yard season the year prior. However, he struggled with drops a little bit, recording 7 this past year. He offers size and consistent production over back-to-back seasons, but the jump from the Sun Belt to the NFL represents a significant risk. Another option is Dazon Stribling from Ole Mississippi. Stribling recorded 811 yards and 6 touchdowns last season with only 1 drop, following an 882-yard season at Oklahoma State. Between the two schools, he has accumulated over 1,600 yards and 12 touchdowns in back-to-back seasons combined, making him a safe option in the 4th round. The data points to a clear conclusion. If the Ravens move Bateman, they must be aggressive in the first 2 rounds of the draft. They need a player who can step in as the WR2 in year 1. The choice between a high-ceiling talent like Tyson or a physically dominant producer like Brazzell will define the Ravens' offensive identity for the 2026 season. Transitioning from Bateman to a rookie would also reset the clock on a rookie-scale contract, providing the team with more cap flexibility as they navigate the later years of Lamar Jackson's deal. As the draft approaches, the focus remains on whether Joe Douglas will pull the trigger on a trade that brings Bateman back to the stadium where his college GM now works. The New York Jets have the picks, the Baltimore Ravens have the need to reset their WR room, and the market for veterans is already active. With 23 days until the draft, the window for a pre-draft trade is narrowing. Which rookie would you rather have? Tyson in the first or Brazzell in the second? The answer to that question may depend entirely on whether the Ravens can turn Bateman into a fourth-round pick and finally move forward from a player whose potential has rarely matched his availability.